What's going on, everybody? B Scott, I'm here with
G.O.D.
and
Third with it.
and on today's show, we got a prediction video. These are gonna be our bold predictions for the fantasy football season, the NFL season, all of it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, of course. These are the first predictions of the season. We'll have the mid-season and, in the season things right now. But these are the elites. These are the ones, one-of-ones, the one-up-tops. It is what it is. And we got the third wheel on the ones too, so you already know what it is. Drop the logo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. B Scott, G.O.D., third wheel. We're going over the predictions for fantasy and for NFL. So
This should be a fun one.
Yeah, of course. So before we get into that, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell. We got all our fantasy top 12 ranks out for you. Honestly, some sleepers, all kinds of things that should help you draft your fantasy teams.
Yeah.
So
if you ain't listening to none of this, you're probably going to lose your league.
yeah, of course. So we'll start with the fantasy productions,
Yeah.
the fantasy predictions, I'm sorry. And we'll start at the quarterback position. For me,
QB1. Who you got?
QB1, I got Patrick Mahomes. And obviously he's coming off the board as the number one quarterback. But the offensive line has been retooled. You know the weapons are there.
Huge.
Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. CEH, if he can actually improve on the season he had last year and help in the running game. Mahomes, you saw it in the preseason week 3, was on fire in 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns, no problem. 35-yard touchdown, Tyreek Hill. They're going to be unstoppable. And honestly, after losing the Super Bowl, they are coming out and hopefully going to really dominate. And the strength schedule is middle of the pack. It's not too bad. So I like Patrick Mahomes still to continue as the QB1 last season. Was still right there paced with Josh Allen, 25.4 fantasy points per game, as the QB1 Josh Allen was last year. And I like Josh Allen especially this year. We'll get into that later on. But Mahomes has got to be my QB1.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And the biggest thing of that is them upgrading the tackles. You know what I mean? We've seen them run for 500 negative yards in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, if he could run 500 yards forward, that would put him in a whole different stratosphere as QB1. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs, I think they're going to come out with a lot of vengeance. My QB1, on the other hand, happens to come with a little bit of a floor. We know Lamar Jackson. It is what it is. There's a lot of concerns with the Baltimore Ravens, and I get that. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at a team that, last year, Michael Yonda leads this team, and they look a little bit lackluster. There were not a lot of wide receivers for him to throw to last year. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. They ran the ball pretty effectively, I think, with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. But guess what? J.K. Dobbins is out of this mix. I'm predicting another MVP-type season, 2 and 3 years. You know what I'm saying? They upgraded the wide receiver position, which they didn't have a lot there last year. You look at Marquise Brown, was subpar last year. You know what I mean? So was Mark Andrews on the snap share, but he still produced. You look at his 2019 season. The top receiver was Mark Andrews. You know what I'm saying? 63 receptions for like 852 and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
This year, they got kids like Bateman. It's going to take time for him to come back. Tylan Wallace, absolute playmaker. Sammy Watkins. There are targets there, and I think his passing attempts will be up this year. He was down from 400 attempts to 376, and I think his pass attempt just goes up this year. It is what it is. That's my QB1.
Yeah, you know what? I can't even argue there. Honestly, early on in the preseason, before the preseason started, in the offseason, I thought Lamar Jackson would be the QB1 overall. I'm telling you, drafting Rashad Bateman, adding Sammy Watkins. I mean, all they need is one pass catcher to work out, in my opinion. And Marquise Brown, you hope, can be what we expected him to be in year 3. So, yes, I have no problem here with Lamar Jackson. I think, honestly, the safe floor is the best bet for where you're drafting Lamar Jackson in fantasy. And I really think he could be the QB1. I just worry. I've kind of backed off a little just because, all of his players around him are falling apart.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins out for the season. Rashad Bateman's going to miss some time. Sammy Watkins, how many games are you going to get out of that? So I hope the pass catchers work out because Lamar Jackson's outstanding, plain and simple. And of course, I can agree that he could be the QB1.
It is what it is. It's a new era. Number 8, QB1.
Okay, so we can move on. We can move on to wide receiver position.
Yeah.
This is an easy spot for me, considering maybe I don't get a lot of love here. It's okay. But I don't think the wide receiver 1 last season will finish wide receiver 1 this season. And obviously, Devontae Adams, in my opinion, yes, he's being drafted as wide receiver 1. But I think it's more of a safe floor play that that Devontae Adams, you got to put him at the 1 as the best talent. But is he going to finish wide receiver 1 overall? I think it's going to be Calvin Ridley. That's my guy. So the reason I like Calvin Ridley, played outstanding without Julio Jones. Actually saw the better coverage when Julio Jones was even on the field last season. 90 receptions, over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. He can do it all. He can catch the ball deep. He can catch it intermediate, short pass, whatever you want to throw it to him. He can do that. They bring in a guy like Kyle Pitts. Obviously, they need some sort of playmaking ability. So if Kyle Pitts can be anything of what his talent shows, that only is probably going to bode well for Calvin Ridley. Also, Russell Gage in that offense still did okay last season. I think he'll fill in nicely as a wide receiver too. The running backs, Mike Davis. But Calvin Ridley, to me, is a player that I really think could have 10-plus touchdowns. I really think could have, honestly, close to 1,500 yards. He's that type of playmaker and could have 100 catches here. So Calvin Ridley's going to be my wide receiver 1 this season.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is a dynamic at the wide receiver position. Now, he's not been the poster boy of health. He has missed a lot of games in his career. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Also, if we're talking about this trend of him replacing Julio Jones, which Julio Jones replaced with Roddy White, you got to remember in those days they had a dominant running game, something that could take the safeties off of his coverage. And this is also going to be the first year where he sees the elite coverage as the number 1 receiver. Can he handle this work? Back then, that running back was Michael Turner. It was absolutely ridiculous. 1,500 yards per scrimmage, double-digit touchdowns. Can we expect this out of Davis?
No.
I'm not really sure that we can even get close to that number. Last year, it was barely over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. If they can get enough to draw attention off of him, then I think he can honestly produce those numbers. But also, you look at Julio Jones and his touchdowns in the last couple of seasons, they ain't been there.
Yeah.
So that could be the same thing falling from for Calvin Ridley and keeping him from being the number 1 receiver. Top 5, yeah, I can see that. But the number 1 receiver, in my opinion, is Davante Adams. Bar none. You got Julio Jones, AB. These guys are great. You know what I'm saying? Odell Beckham, great receivers. But they're not in their prime separating at the level that Davante Adams is separating.
Yeah.
It is what it is. This guy's the guy. They put up the Last Dance thing on their Instagram. I think they're finna go out here and sling it. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? 18 touchdowns, yes. There can be a regression there. What, 17? 15? 16? Come on, man. It's Davante Adams all day. Green Bay, Cheeseheads, you know what it is. Wide receiver 1 in the building.
Of course, I do enjoy Davante Adams. Of course, he's in our ranks as the wide receiver 1 because, like I said, even if he doesn't finish wide receiver 1, how far do you think he falls from even the top 3 to 4? So it's the safest pick at the wide receiver 1. Calvin Ridley, yes, I'm on a stretch here a little bit, but I really think he holds enough in a passing offense that is going to have a bad defense. They're going to have to throw a ton to be able to make that work. Green Bay Packers. They got a kind of a tough strength schedule. I don't think it matters for the elites. We've already talked about this a lot, necessarily, especially Davante Adams. He's just on a different realm when it comes to wide receivers. So
he is the guy right now.
Yeah, I'm all fine with that. We can move to the running backs. And so I'll throw mine out there, right? Chris McCaffrey's the number 1 overall pick.
Okay.
I will say that he's going to finish the running back 1. And the reason is the volume period.
He looked on paper and was like, Chris McCaffrey's number 1.
Yeah, everybody's saying it, right? You got to go with the trends. No, I've looked at a lot of the running backs, especially on the top end, and each one of them has their own flaws, period. All of them do. So with Christian McCaffrey, the reason he's here is we've seen 400 touches. We've seen 1,000. We've seen nearly 20 touchdowns. The guy can do it all in the passing game. We've seen over 100 catches. You know what I mean? It's like there's a reason he's being drafted where he is. Now, yes, he's coming off an injured year, a year in which he suffered a high ankle sprain, the shoulder sprain. There's a lot of question marks here. He didn't play a lot, but I'll tell you what, through 3 games last season, 2 touchdowns per game, averaged 27 fantasy points per game. In half PP, that's in half PPR scoring.
Again, too.
Hey, that's okay. He played 1 game against Tampa, had 2 touchdowns. I'll tell you right now, the reason Chris McCaffrey is number 1 is just based on not just volume, but talent and an expectation that he's the guy that's going to see 80+% snap share, regardless, and see almost every touch. We've seen this in the offense. You saw it with Mike Davis last season, where Chris McCaffrey's out. Mike Davis actually filled in as a solid RB2 numbers without Chris McCaffrey. And this is Mike Davis we're talking about. So Christian McCaffrey, bar none, running back one.
Yeah, you're right. We've seen a lot from Christian McCaffrey. We've seen at Stanford him take a lot of carries. We've seen with the Carolina Panthers take a lot of carries. We've seen him hit 2,000 yards. We've seen all the touchdowns. And we've also seen in the last season him breaking down. No one, absolutely no one, even the next guy, my RB1 that I'm about to talk about here, has ever come back and produced at that level. If we're looking in the mirror, are we seeing the reflection of what we know as Christian McCaffrey in the past? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, of course.
But there's high expectation there. You know what I'm saying? They do have Sam Darnold. He's a running back killer and team killer and so much. I don't know if you can trust this kind of thing. That's why he's not my number one RB in my rankings. Consistent R rankings, he is. You know what I'm saying? 27 fantasy points per game. In the games played, yeah, they didn't play nobody. But he still showed flashes. So he will be very high producing, I think. And that's not really far away from who he is as a player. It is what it is. But my RB1, Derrick Henry. And I'm going to tell you why. Derrick Henry, yeah, he did have 2,000 yards. And he has had a lot of carries. But a lot of those carries, were crippled by DeMarco Murray in his career early on. So he's still a little bit fresh. Also, you add Julio Jones to this mix. How you going to stack the box on this team? I think it really just makes this rushing game a little bit more effective. And I think 20-plus touchdowns is not out of the question here for this guy. This dude 6'4", run 4.4. I mean, we've seen his work. King Henry, they call him the king for a reason, and I think he'll be the king of fantasy this season.
Okay. Now we know Derrick Henry doesn't catch a lot of passes, right? That's his bugaboo. Yeah. That's where everybody thinks, oh, well, Derrick Henry, he must be the RB 5 to 7 this year because, he doesn't catch passes. Obviously, coming off an outstanding season that we can't necessarily say he'll do better than he did. But
of course,
you can say 1,500 yards is almost a guarantee as long as he's on the field. That's just give it to him. Period. Almost 100 yards a game, I would give that to him. I would give him a touchdown a game at least. You're looking at 16, 17 touchdowns. I think he's the safest running back you could take in the first round.
And he also gets to play the Jaguars and the Texans twice this year.
Yeah. I know. So I'm all okay with Derrick Henry being the running back one. Of course, it's going to depend on the receptions and the receiving work for some of these other backs, whether he can finish there. But, of course, I think Derrick Henry is talented enough to finish the RB1. So we'll move on to the tight end position. This is just consensus. And it's like, we could talk a little bit about it. Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. The only person I think that could even get close would probably be Darren Waller. And last season...
I would say Kittle, but...
Well... I just don't know if I could see Kittle get that many touchdowns compared to Waller coming off season with 9.
You put any defender in front of him who can stop him.
That's true.
I think it's just a real straight route to the touchdown. I mean, but for how many games?
Exactly. That's and Darren Waller, we seen it last season, over 100 catches, over 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. And he was still, like we talked about, just miles behind Travis Kelce. Now, yes, he had his best season ever, receiving, yards, receptions, touchdowns, all these things. He put up career highs. Can we expect that again this season? No, you can't. You can't always guarantee the same production. But you know damn well he's going to be the tight end one.
Yeah, Kelce, period. Number one, consistency. I mean, that's tight end one.
Yeah, there's no way. There's nothing else to talk about it. So I'm going to throw one little thing out here. Defense, right?
Yeah.
The number one defense fantasy, in my opinion, is probably going to be Tampa Bay. This is a defense that is coming off the board as the 3 or 4 or 5 defense. I really think they have enough production in those games where the offense is going to be on the field a lot. You already know they're going to be scoring a lot of points. I think the defense is going to get it done for you. Tampa Bay, in my opinion, should be the defense, the number one defense this season.
Well, if I can throw a little outlier there, I agree with you with Tampa Bay being the number one defense. But if the quarterback position has such great of a strength of schedule for New England, then those defenses probably ain't shit either. Right? So I think New England's defense, them back from this COVID season and Vanoy back and, all these guys back in the mix, they have a chance at a really high turnovers, low scoring games where they can be the number one defense. Now, the turnovers ain't going to be there, so fantasy points maybe might not be there. But who knows?
Yeah.
It could potentially be there. You know what I'm saying? Like DVOA, they could be the number one, but fantasy, it's probably going to be Tampa Bay. It is what it is. But you can get a fantasy defense like New England close to the last rounds.
Yeah, of course.
But overall, I just see Tampa just doing what they do. Devin White, they can't be stopped over there, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
absolutely. So, the most fantasy points on an NFL team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the Kansas City Chiefs, and the reason is I got my QB1 on there. We got the tight end one, obviously, consensus.
So you love him, Clyde.
Tyreek Hill.
Right?
Listen to me. Tyreek Hill is
man.
is the wide receiver
Who's the
2.
wide receiver 2?
Tyreek Hill.
No, he's the wide receiver 1 over there. Who's the 2?
Tyreek Hill's the wide receiver 2 and 3. That's enough fantasy points. And the running back position, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's a top 15 back. Period. I think he'll finish in the top 15 with upside to finish inside the 12.
I mean, you know, you can get receptions and you can get a little bit of scat back, running back yards. But the biggest thing for Edwards-Helaire last year was like he got stuff. He couldn't get in the end zone.
Okay.
Period. I mean, he's a little guy. It is what it is.
Well, he was playing.
I mean-
he was playing hurt a little bit sometimes too. So.
And he also like kind of sucked a little bit.
Okay. I think Kansas City Chiefs. There's just too many fantasy points on that team.
Yeah, I can agree there. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty hot, but I don't really feel like they'll have more fantasy points than Tampa Bay. But I feel like fantasy points overall is gonna go to Dallas, man. You look at Dak Prescott. If he's back, which all the indications are showing that he's ready to roll. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Ezekiel Elliott, who can be a top 3 running back in his league. I honestly think so. Like, I've never seen this kid come in to camp looking this sharp, looking this shredded. It is what it is. Then you got Amari Cooper. We know what Amari Cooper's about. And then we got CeeDee Lamb just, you know what I'm saying, looking like the X over there, the 88. They gave him the 88 for a reason. You got Michael Gallup, who's still there, that like nobody even talks about. And then Blake Jarwin's back. You know what I'm saying? They paid Blake Jarwin for a reason. Good tight end money. So I really think with them having a bad defense, it's going to be more time on offense.
Yeah.
And they probably have the team that has the most fantasy points come out of it this year.
Yeah, of course. 3 receivers. They could all finish over 1,000 yards. I get it. Tight end position. Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz, and of course Zeke, Dak Prescott. But if that defense can improve just a little bit.
That's the only thing that's separating them from Tampa, in my opinion.
Yeah. We're talking about 3 teams ultimately that are in the top 5 of offense this period anyway.
Yeah.
And for fantasy especially. So I'm okay with that, with Dallas being there because they just have so many playmakers.
Yeah.
So we can jump to our NFL awards early season. These are just bold predictions out here. I'll start with mine. That's fine. The MVP of the league, in my opinion, this season is Josh Allen. Right?
You gonna go that far with it?
We are. I'm going to make this case. So last season, in my opinion, if you took 8 touchdowns away from Aaron Rodgers, which is impossible because you can't take touchdowns away, but if Aaron Rodgers threw 40 touchdowns instead of 48, I think Josh Allen would have won the MVP. He played that great of a season last year. Coming into this season, 37 touchdowns last year, 8 rushing, 45 total touchdowns, 4,500 passing yards. I think Josh Allen can improve on his numbers. He's improved every single season. They upgrade at the wide receiver 2 position with Emmanuel Sanders. Taylor Gabriel, I liked him. He's a pretty decent downfield threat coming into his second year. You know Cole Beasley. You know Stephon Diggs. Dawson Knox, 3rd-year tight end. Now, yes, I don't necessarily saying he's going to break out, but guess what? I think he can do even
capable.
better, of course. In the running back position, Zach Moss, Devin Singletary. It doesn't matter because Josh Allen's your best running back on the team. 400 rushing yards last season. So I just think Josh Allen's going to take that step once again. I get it. New England got a little bit better. Miami Dolphins, you already know they're established. The Jets always put up an okay defense. They really do. So, but the way Josh Allen produced last year, coming into this season, I think it's going to be even better.
Yes, that's all fine and dandy. And yes, you can't take away touchdowns. But what if you can add touchdowns? Because we know in week 9 on, when Antonio Brown hit that team in Tampa Bay, my MVP pick, Tom Brady, would have been projected to go over 5,100 yards and 46 touchdowns. Very close to MVP numbers. You know what I mean? Like, and that's with them early on in the season without Antonio Brown, just trying to figure things out in a new offense and Bruce Arians system. Bar none. This is my QB1. Period. MVP. It is what it is. Tampa Bray.
Okay. You know what? I have no arguments there because I think last season Tom Brady already outproduced what a lot of people thought they were going to anyway. We talked about it early on. He was projected 29. That's what the bet was, 29.5 touchdowns.
7.
I'm like, there's no way he's going to have under 30 touchdowns. We talked about it. I was like, yeah, maybe he wasn't going to get to 50. I thought 40 would be a good number. It settled on exactly 40.
Now, I don't want to say they go undefeated here. They do got some tough games at home where teams could sneak by and probably get the win out there. So I don't want to say they go undefeated, but them figuring it out in the second year in that system, just like Peyton's second year in the system in Denver when he switched teams, I think you're gonna see a lot of explosion, man. I think Tom Brady is easily the MVP this year.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I really think he's got a couple years left. We'll see, and he played great.
Yeah.
So I'm just fine with that. I still like Josh Allen personally. That's all right.
But while we're on Tom Brady, we got to bring this conversation up, right? This is our offensive rookie of the year. It is what it is. Now, I've been struggling with this a lot. I've been thinking about a lot of little players and wide receivers, Jalen Waddle, these guys called Pitts maybe. Is bar none to me, Mac Jones.
Okay. The heir apparent to 8 passing touchdowns last year.
Yes.
Okay.
So, me thinking about Mac Jones and his system is very crystal clear. They cut Cam Newton and they're comfortable with Mac Jones. That's all I need to know in this system.
Yeah.
They go back to the Patriots team and what they do. We've been saying it all offseason. 12 personnel, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, a lot of B-plus check downs. You know what I'm saying? We already know this kid has a big arm. What we do know about this system, too, is that they don't unravel the whole playbook in the first week. They tend to see what everybody's doing well and then graduate from that. You know what I mean? I think Mac Jones is in the best position of any rookie quarterback right now outside of Justin Fields, which is, obviously you're a guy. But Justin Fields ain't playing yet. It's a matter of time for him to play. But I think those games in between here, you know what I'm saying, is going to be the factor. Does he play well? Does he check down well? Does his big arm ability towards the end of the season enable him to get big touchdowns and everything? Aguilar, Jacoby Myers. We got all these guys behind a dominant defense, behind a crazy run game with Damian Harris, J.J. Taylor. We seen Stevenson be the top runner in all the preseason.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think Mac Jones is in the safest place to produce points, period. And just start. You know what I mean? Mac Jones is my rookie of the year.
Okay. I'm all good with that. I worry about him getting enough offensive stats to be there. I mean, really, typically the rookie of the year is an outstanding standout, and just, you've seen it last year with Justin Herbert, 31 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So it's like, those numbers are big. They got to be able to prove here. Now, yes, I think he can do it considering there's still a couple other rookie quarterbacks that are starting. I've heard of Zach Wilson being thrown out here. Looked great in the preseason.
That's also a guy, too.
He's on the Jets.
That's a fact.
It's going to be tough. They got to win some games. At least with the Patriots, they're probably going to win over 8 games, 9 games. They're going to be over 500.
Well, see, here's the thing. Fantasy is one thing, right?
Yeah.
But being rookie of the year means, you probably won games, too.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying?
That
Joey
plays
Burrow was good, first half of the season, but he didn't finish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, Justin Herbert, I think if Joey Burrow, played all 16 games, he probably would have been a rookie of the year. Mac Jones is in a position behind a great offensive line. I don't really see him getting hurt as much. He got extreme checkdowns. I mean, if he could just get rid of the ball at the time he's supposed to get rid of the ball, this is like a no-fill system.
My rookie of the year is obviously Justin Fields. Now, yes, they named Andy Dalton the starter week 1. And it makes no sense to me why they did, because honestly, he got outplayed in the preseason. But Justin Fields did play a lot more than Andy Dalton. I could see that. And they want to play it safe, in my opinion, with Andy Dalton. Do I think Andy Dalton's going to be great for them? No. I don't think he's a needle mover. That's where I really think he is. I think Justin Fields moves that needle. Now, Justin Fields, to me, arguably looked like the best rookie quarterback in the preseason.
Totally.
He really did. So making the plays with his feet, has the arm strength to make all the throws. He really does. And in an offense where he's got top-end talent, Allen Robinson, David Montgomery in the backfield.
That's a fact.
Cole Kmet, tight end position, I really think he's a guy that...
He's still got OG Jimmy.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They have red zone targets. Darnell Mooney, they're expecting him to take a leap. The defense is still going to be above average. Yeah. I get it, it's old, but it's still going to be good. The reason they're starting Andy Dalton is for safety.
Yeah.
But I still think Justin Fields, at the end of this season, will have 10-plus starts, in my opinion. And I think he'll be able to do enough in the offense to really wow people. This is a guy, especially in fantasy, for me, that could be a top 12 quarterback if he's in the lineup.
And not to mention, I mean, they were in the playoffs last year with Mitchell Trubisky. So, I mean, just adding the dynamic in Justin Fields.
Andy Dalton's got to do a whole lot.
I almost want to switch my player right now. I mean, Justin Fields is a fucking monster.
And yeah, Andy Dalton's going to have to play the best of his career, in my opinion, to hold off Justin Fields.
Fact.
And I just don't see it. So Justin Fields, in my opinion, is going to be the rookie of the year.
That's fire, man.
So next, when we look at the comeback player of the year,
there's a lot here.
Of course, there's a lot of players it could be. I'll start with mine, and it's going to be Joe Burrow. Now I get it. He did play in 10.5 games, coming off torn ACL. Joe Burrow could come out here and really prove a lot of people wrong. Some people think that he might be a bust, possibly. Obviously, the offensive line, that's the big question mark for the Cincinnati Bengals. We know the weapons are there. They add Jamar Chase to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon in the backfield, your boy. But Joe Burrow is a guy I think that could really come out and actually prove a lot of people wrong. I was not huge on Joe Burrow coming into this offseason, especially for fantasy. I was like, man, there was just a lot of question marks, and we knew they didn't really address the offensive line, which we thought they should have. Now, they did add some players to the offensive line, and it will be better, I think, than last year. Joe Burrow is a guy that I think is going to have an outstanding season, a lot better than a lot of people think.
I can agree that he'll be better this year. You know what I'm saying? You look at Joe Burrow last year, he was like kind of bad throwing down the field.
Yeah.
And I think that's due to the offensive line, to be honest with you. But, I mean, not to get off Burrow right quick, but first of all, we start seeing Joe Mixon. I fucking hate Joe Mixon. And like, oh, this is the only guy in the backfield. And then this dude, Chris Evans, emerges. You get rid of Gio, and now we got another reception guy, which is great for Joe Burrow. You know what I'm saying? Because Joe Burrow all time led all rookies, all time, of yards under 20 yards. You know what I'm saying? Of passes under 20 yards. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of building blocks here, especially with Jamar Chase. Hopefully, half the season down, you know what I'm saying, he'll start figuring it out and start separating where he wants to. But T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd was the top end target last year before Joe Burrow went down. I think he was in the top 10 of players. So, I think there's nothing but upside here, to be honest with you, especially in that division. They're going to throw a lot, and he seemed to handle it.
Yeah.
When he was throwing a lot last year. So this is a guy who could honestly be one of the comeback players of the year. My comeback player of the year has a different thing about him. He has crazy targets. I already said Dallas had the most, fantasy points probably on the game. Ezekiel Elliott, pass. You know what I'm saying? Amari Cooper, pass. Pass game. You know what I'm saying? CeeDee Lamb, pass game. Gallup, pass. Jarba. He just has a lot of targets. You know what I mean? What he was on pace for last year, and to see, his foot on his shin last year, for him to already be back week 1, I think for a fact, this is going to be the comeback player of the year. Now, there's Jameis Winston out there, with Callaway. There's Carson Wentz. Saquon Barkley's a big one. But I really think to produce numbers is going to be Dak Prescott.
Okay. I can't argue that at all, because Dak Prescott obviously is the biggest talent, was leading the league in passing yards before he went down in week 5, was on pace for over 6,000 passing yards. It was insane. So I think Dak Prescott could be the comeback player here.
Yeah.
Hopefully the defense can be a little bit better, and this team overall can produce. But yes, I do agree with you there.
Hopefully those fuckers just healthy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we'll get to our last picks.
Super Bowl picks.
This is just the clear-cut Super Bowl. Who do you think is going to win it?
Tampa.
Okay. You think Tampa's going to go all the way?
There's huge expectations for Brady to go undefeated. He's already did it in the regular season. And they want to go 17-0. It is what it is. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure if they get there, but that is going to be my Super Bowl pick. I look at Kansas City, and I think, damn, they're really talented on offense. But as a football team, I don't think there's no football team in the NFL that are close to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just really don't. You know what I'm saying? At every position, they are stacked. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I love Tampa in the Super Bowl, and I told you.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna have a different one here. Buffalo Bills. It's their time.
Okay.
I think Josh Allen has gotten better every year, has produced on that high enough level. I think the defense got a little better through the draft. They drafted a lot of defensive ends. Honestly, they need to help boost that pass rush on the defense. I think they're a pretty well-rounded team also. And with Josh Allen being the league MVP, of course he's got to get over that hump of beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. But I think this is the year that the Buffalo Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl.
If they don't play like vaginas.
Okay. If that's what you want to say, that's all right. So that's been our predictions of the preseason.
Yeah, we'll see you halfway through.
Yeah, of course. So once again, If you like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff. Comment if you got other players that you think are going to do better in certain spots that obviously you don't agree with us. Drop in the comments. Tell us your feelings. So for the first 4 downs, been B. Scott,
Godzilla,
and
Third week.
we out.
Okay. See you in the half season.